Think about this for a second. When you delete a file, a video, an image, literally anything on the internet, where does it go? Is it technically still out there? Is it in the hands of someone else? Well, I sure as hell found out. That's why I'm writing this today, to tell you my story of why I'm sure humanity is long past saving. It all started on Sunday evening, when I was at the wrong place, wrong time. I was walking home from a local pub downtown when I saw this building that I was sure it wasn't there before. It looked beat up and old, with visible water damage plastered over the walls. I had literally nothing else better to do that evening, so why not do some urbex? I still regret that decision years later. I walked up to the rusty old building with a bit of fear pumping through me. That I should have trusted, but chose to ignore. I hesitantly gripped the cold metal handle of the place and pulled it open. It was surprisingly unlocked. Almost immediately the loud, rusty squeak of an old hinge assaulted my ears, scaring me a bit. I looked around to make sure I didn't draw any attention, and slid in through the gap of the door. The strong scent of moist carpet and humidity hit me almost immediately, making me want to turn back. I powered through and felt the walls for a light switch, hoping that place had power. I eventually found one and flicked it to life, hearing the strong overhead light buzz and flicker to life. It was a harsh, white office light that I hated. I finally get a proper look around at my surroundings, seeing the place was mostly trashed, with papers and office supplies scattered around the carpet, but seemingly the old, boxy computers left untouched. It was a small office space, fit for no more than 4 people. I slowly took steps forward, feeling the carpet squelch under my feet. I made my way to one of those old computers, crouched down and pressed the power button to power it to life. The screen displayed some type of logo I had never seen before. It looked like a 7 with 2 dashes on the inside of it. I still, to this day, don't know what it meant. The bright fluorescence of the screen hit my face, making me wince a bit. I scoffed at being scared so easily and put my hand on the mouse, exploring the home screen. There were only 6 apps on the home screen. A Notes app, a trash bin, the same company logo, a Documents app, and the other 2 I can't quite remember. But it was along the lines of billing. I clicked the company logo at first, and waited for what seemed like ages for the slow computer to process the task. Suddenly, a screen popped up with the same logo and the loading screen. After a solid 5 minutes of it not moving at all, I decided to explore the place a bit more. With every step I took, I internally cringed at the wet squelch of the moist carpet. The place was unusually small, but it was packed. I looked through cabinets, drawers and files and found pretty much nothing. I was about to call it a day and try to get home without being arrested until the screen blinked in the corner of my eye. It was loaded. I walked over and crouched, looking at the site in front of me. It was a sickly white screen with multiple files and documents and a grid view option. So I clicked that. It loaded me to another screen with the header reading "Everywhere and Nowhere," which seemed a bit edgy to me, but I scrolled on. What I saw could only be described as everything. I saw images of old folk, young people, dogs, cats, babies. It was confusing why this would be here. Then I saw multiple blurry and mistaken images. Very, very old images, and just the types of images you would usually delete. I hadn't connected the dots though. I saw happy couples, parents, blurry photos of food and dogs, and many embarrassing photos of people's faces. That's when the idea finally popped into my head. This all really seems like the type of stuff someone would want to delete. Why are they all here? I kept investigating, and the further I scrolled, the stranger it got. I saw images of underage kids drinking and partying, drugs and bank information. I scrolled up once more and froze. An obscene image burned into my retinas of a decapitated man. I felt like I was going to puke. My hands shook and I didn't know what to do. It all seemed so real. I wanted to leave so badly, but this urge and obsession washed over me to explore more. And I gave in. I wish every single hour of my life I hadn't done that. What I saw in that app I can never unsee. Children in every situation they should not be in. Adults dead, tortured, raped, all burned into my mind. Kidnapped children and teens looking like they were being sold. I couldn't take it anymore. I crumbled over and vomited all over the carpet, tears streaming down my face. How could someone be this cruel? How could someone do this? Why are we letting this happen? I sobbed into my hands, overcome with pure rage at humanity. I couldn't even bear to look at what was at the end of that document, and I'm glad I didn't. I stumbled up with a shaking body, ran out of that horrible building and straight home. I ran into my apartment, heaving and paranoid. I fumbled with my phone to call the police and saw an urgent notification on my phone. Apparently, my phone had automatically connected to the building's Wi-Fi, and my phone was overwhelmed with a barrage of messages, all from the same unknown number, and they were all coming so fast I could barely read them. I clicked on hesitantly, still shaking, and saw it was all of the images I hadn't scrolled far enough to see. Government officials doing horrible things, gore and torture, mutilation and suicide, harassment and shock site images, all burned into my mind again. I screamed and tossed my phone, threading my fingers through my hair and pulling harshly, hyperventilating. What I saw was so disgusting, I wanted to die right then and there. The last thing I remember is seeing a blade in my hand, pressed against my wrists, then blackout. I woke up in the hospital, head throbbing and wrists sore and hands numb. I barely remember what had happened, but I was told I had attempted to end my life and was in the hospital. Fast forward a bit, and I reported my findings to the police. Apparently, my phone was nowhere to be found, and the place I had described wasn't even there. It was just an empty lot. I begged and pleaded with them, trying to convince them, but I saw it for myself. It was truly just an empty lot. I kept spewing all my proof and findings, and they just laughed and called me crazy. Now, back to the present day, here I am in the loony bin with schizophrenia and on useless medication. I was never sick. They are just trying to silence me. I know what I saw. I know what I heard. They keep saying symptoms show up at around the age I was at the time on the incident, 20, but I wasn't, and still am not crazy. That's why I'm sharing this today on a phone. I snuck in. I need someone to believe me. The internet is not a safe place or a good thing. Humans take everything good and spoil it and ruin it. There are monsters living among you every day, and you don't even know. I have been enlightened, and I'm blessing you with this knowledge. I won't be one of you anymore soon. My pure soul won't be trapped on this earth of horrible beings who call themselves human. And I advise you should free yourself from this prison too. That was the last we have ever heard of 𝓤𝓭𝓮𝓻, age 26, at the time of her suicide. Reports show she was a paranoid schizophrenic with suicidal tendencies since she was 20. She was apparently very adamant she was not schizophrenic and refused to take medication, resulting in her hospitalization. She suffered from frequent blackouts, likely the reason she wasn't aware of her condition. After her last post was made online, she gained a cult following, which led to the suicides of many other young children and adults, most aged 13 to 25, reports say. One of these cult members was allegedly nursed back to health after their attempt and interviewed. They stated after reading Delia's last post, she couldn't remember anything at all. Her family says she went rampant, destroying all devices in their home and spewing paranoid delusions before attempting to take their life. Authorities are still investigating this case, and we urge you to stay home and stay safe.